something like 80 to 85% of our neurodivergent folks are either underemployed or unemployed. And it can't be 80 to 85% of those folks' fault, right? A lot of that lands on the businesses, small and large, and their cultures, and whether or not they're even trained to help our neurodivergent workforce succeed. Well, brand new to Georgia is a new nonprofit, and this one making waves. With me today, one of the founders, Jacey Smith, not only one of the founders, but also the executive director of the Georgia Neurodiversity Chamber of Commerce. Hi, Jacey. How you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Gina?
It's been a while since I've seen you IRL. So tell me what your new nonprofit is all about.
Well, I recently started the Georgia Neurodiversity Chamber of Commerce with two co-founders, Kathy Aurora and Jenny Rankin. We're all based here in Atlanta. We've known each other for over a decade. Our kids all went to school together, and they've all grew up and went on to other things such as college and work. And but all of them are neurodiverse. And so after about 4 or 5 years, I started recognizing, that I was struggling trying to find opportunities for my son for work, for living, supported living, education and a career. And I said, I can't be the only one struggling with this here in Georgia. And so I started tapping back into them. At the same time, about 6 months ago, I also was I was following LinkedIn, and I found the Colorado Neurodiversity Chamber of Commerce. And I was like, so I kind of stalked them for like 6 months, like, oh my God, what are they doing? All these great things they're doing, right? And so I finally picked up the phone and called them. I was like, I can't stand it. Like, you got to help me open one of these here in Georgia. And they're like, actually, that's what we do. We consult. We're happy to. They want this to grow. So so I called Jenny and Kathy, and I'm like, crazy idea. I need you guys on board with me. So because we all bring a very specific aspect to the organization.
A skill set for sure. Yeah, you're great at marketing and other things after knowing you for so many years. So what are the statistics and the newest statistics for adults on the spectrum when it comes to gainful employment?
Okay, this is really hard to read sometimes, and I'm going to read it because I want to make sure I'm getting it right. So 80 to 85% of adults on the spectrum are unemployed. Most are underemployed, and they have low-paying jobs or they're part-time jobs. 34% don't feel well supported in their job, and only 16% worked at a job 1 year or longer. So when we have 1 in 31, the new statistics, diagnosed with ASD, and we had that makes us have that gives us 5.4 million adults going to be with autism. So we also, part of the Georgia Neurodiversity Chamber of Commerce also includes other neurodivergent diagnoses. So we have everything, we include everyone that is neurodivergent. So that's included autism, depression, ADHD, OCD, dyslexia, anxiety, dyscalculia, sensory processing disorder, in anything. And we have a list of about 20, and we're inclusive of everyone. So even the statistics with those people who have those diagnoses also are struggling too. So people who struggle with ADHD, there's probably over 8 million people with ADHD in this country, and only 50% of them report having jobs that match their skill set. And 30% are more likely to have chronic issues. The other ones is dyslexia. There's over 40 million people in the United States with dyslexia. And with 1 in 5 people in the United States with a disability, we really need to start working toward finding employment for them. And then life skills. And so that's what we've kind of built here with the Georgia Neurodiversity Chamber of Commerce is that we kind of had this mission we were like, okay, we're going to get it started, and we're going to go out and we're going to start finding all these great companies that are, meeting up, and inviting, neurodivergent adults into their companies and to their culture. And we weren't finding that. And in fact, we actually found, and this is what we have been doing for the last, 6 months or so, is that we've been meeting with all of the stakeholders here in Georgia. So we've been meeting with neurodivergent adults at all edges of the spectrum.
Let me ask you a question. As we start to change the narratives within these companies and their cultures, how does GNCC help them? What's your view? What's your goal to, look forward to in 2025?
Right. So, that's we didn't find all these organizations. We couldn't find these companies. So we were like, we're going to have, and then we found that even the support people who were going in with them, they were few and far between. And they were also not communicating with each other. They were all working in silos. So we were having a real problem, like trying to find out, like, well, if there's no common place for a company to go, say, like, I want to hire, somebody who's neurodivergent, and I want to make sure that I'm creating an environment for them and a culture for them that is welcoming and sustainable, and then it's supported, ongoing supported, So I'm like, we had to back up. And so we're starting to build community from scratch. So we are building neurodivergent adults or neurodistinct adults. We're putting together ongoing monthly social, groups. So we have game nights, we have comedy club nights, we are going to Battle and Brew, and so that's really kind of bringing them all together because they have to build this and have a voice. I mean, really, like this is for them. I want to eventually down the line hand this over to them because this is what they're, working toward. And then we also, what we have found, what we were surprised with is that all of the professionals who support them have all been, like I said before, working in silos. So they are like craving information. They have been we have been flooded with, specialists in the area, from therapists to lawyers and legal supports, for special needs trusts. We have counselors. We have tons of job coaches for both life and for work. We do have a number of smaller companies that are also working with companies, but they need to connect with the neurodivergent community so that they can create these cultures in the companies, So this is a great way for us to connect everybody. So really, like, our organization is truly about bringing all of these people together. We are a foundation with all of our organizations. So we're giving monthly professional meetings, and then we're doing our social groups. And then later in this year, we're also going to start providing continuing education for professionals, so they can come in and get their credits. We're also going to do advocacy workshops for finance, and then also some for the advocates who are the parents, such as like financial planning and legals and trusts and wills and government support. And then we're also going to do education programs for the neurodistinct universe, people. So
with me today, Jacey Smith, founder and executive director of the Georgia Neurodiversity Chamber of Commerce, otherwise known as GNCC. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about job carving and what that looks like for our neurodivergent. Stay with me.
Don's Tree Service is awesome.
Love Don's Tree Service. They've come out for a giant oak tree removal, another for some debris removal.
One thing I really appreciated about Don's Tree Service, they come, they take those trees down, and they take everything away.
For a free estimate, call Don's Tree Service, 770-413-TREE, or find them online at donstree.com.
Welcome back to Life with the Spectrum. I'm your host, Gina Cavalli. With me today, Jacey Smith, one of the founders of the Georgia Neurodiversity Chamber of Commerce, otherwise known as GNCC. You can find them on Facebook. We'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. I wanted to ask you, Jacey, when it comes to job carving and what that looks like, I think having those neurodivergent adults weigh in like, hey, this is the support we need. Hey, I'm working at this place and this is what I see. Is there an opportunity? Because sometimes people, even non-neurodivergent people, don't like to speak up about that kind of stuff. So is there someone that can come in, i.e. you guys, that say, hey, listen, we've got Joe and Patty working over here, and they've been here almost 6 months, and we had a chance to talk with them, and these are some of the things that we feel that we could maybe you could do better for them. You know, is that something that you guys are willing to kind of go and help them with?
Well, and then again, we are more of a organization that brings people together, but we do have members who that do exactly that, and that's where we would pair them up. So we would have if a neurodivergent adult comes in, if a neurodivergent adult comes in and asks, I'm like, comes to one of our meetings or one of our social events, then, and they start talking to us, then we're able to also introduce them to those companies that are doing all of that job carving, that are establishing, ways for the organization to, for ways for these companies to come in and, create space, create culture, and what exactly, what works for that individual. And sometimes it's not like even a big change for them. A lot of it has to do with just like some small things, like keeping the lights down, changing a couple, keeping it in a quieter space.
Having an itinerary that you actually follow instead of getting off left field, so that our folks who are all about time and headspace, it can be very taxing for our neurodiverse to work an 8-hour day. I've been speaking with one young lady who feels it's a little overwhelming, and she starts to check out after about 6 hours.
Right.
She still wants that full time. She still wants those benefits, but also, maybe stepping back and letting her work an extra day to make up those hours. But after about 6 hours, it's just too much.
Yeah. No, and that's where we need these companies to be very flexible, and then you're getting the most out of them. So a lot of people, so they've claimed that the same thing, that they claim that there's a lack of supports. There's a misconception and a lot of stigma still in companies, and still there's limited awareness of what the strengths are of individuals. There's barriers to the recruitment process. So just job interviews has been very challenging, because for them to go in, and there's a couple of the organizations that we are working with that are members of ours that, they talk about, like, we actually go on to the job, they were there during the interview, and then we give them questions that help them pull out that information. It's not like the, interviews that, that they commonly have. So it is about teaching the company just how to just tweak a few things, and then that makes it successful. They're able to find those strengths within that individual and bring it in.
The best part is it's all run by neurodiverse moms. And if anybody gets it, we get it, right?
Right.
So, Jacey, where can people find you both online and socials?
Okay, so we are the www.gancc.org. And on our website, you can get on our social media, or it's this is the same thing for Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn.
All right. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's ahead and how companies and cultures change right here in Georgia. I know personally, if anybody can do it, you can do it. Jacey, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks so much, Gina. Take care. And come to our events.
I will.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm so happy that Jacey founded the Georgia Neurodiversity Chamber of Commerce, because this is going to help companies finally get it and get it right here in Georgia. And there's one in Colorado. And you know what? I bet if you're interested in, building one wherever you live, you can get in touch with Jacey. She gave all the information, and of course we'll have that up on the screen for you again right here on Life with the Spectrum. Thank you so much for tuning in once again. Like, commenting, sharing, most of all subscribing to the channel, finding it as a podcast wherever you grab your podcast. Our sole goal is to really help our neurodivergent folks thrive and live the best life that they can. So thanks a lot for checking out Life with the Spectrum. See ya.
Bye.